Well, welcome to Southern Mamas Be Like. I don't know if your mama was like my mama, but we had to take vitamins. I mean, Flintstone, like that worked. But now as we age and as our food system and our diet, which is called the SAD, isn't that right? Standard American Diet, is truly sad. We're having to do some things to help us feel better. And so I'm going to bring in Eva Marie. Here she is, add to stage.
I don't know about your mother, but my mother thought that the cure for everything was castor oil.
Oh, that'll get whatever out of you.
Southern mamas be
Hello.
like, I'm telling you, my mother thought if you so much as said, I don't feel good, the castor oil came out of the cabinet. That was it.
Mama made us take a Flintstone vitamin, then she decided that it made us eat more and gain weight. So we didn't have even Fred. I couldn't even chew on a Fred or a Wilma or a Bam Bam.
Yeah.
How
I
funny.
think we did. I'm trying to think. I think we did too. I think we took Flintstone vitamins.
Yeah.
Yeah, at some point. Yeah.
Well, David Mines and I were in conversation. I'm going to put his link up here for someone who'd like to chat with him about going to the next level for health. But I'm gonna back up the bus just a hair because you made a comment about soft drinks. And so David said this, and I want you to comment on it. Brace yourself. The average American guzzles, ready, 40 to 50 gallons of sodas a year.
Gosh.
And his message is clear. Both can mess with your gut, whether it's sugar added or diet.
No.
Pack on the pounds. He said people that drink diet sodas, they do tend to expand.
They are actually bigger. They are bigger. I don't know what people are thinking. Well, and okay, here's the other thing. This is my opinion on diet soft drinks. Yuck, first of all.
Oh, I know. Mama said you might as well suck on a penny.
I know. Secondly, it's always interesting to me that whenever both times that my brother had cancer, and the second time he passed away from it, but both times, one of the first questions out of the oncologist's mouth was, do you drink diet soft drinks?
Wow.
So what do they know that nobody's talking about, right?
Yeah.
Why is that your first question? And so, but I stopped drinking diet soft drinks. Gosh, well, I don't know that I drank them for very long because I was never really big on the taste. But back in the probably 35 years ago, I started noticing that anything with aspartame in it caused my brain to kind of go, within 5 minutes of having anything with aspartame in it, anything. I mean, it could be yogurt, it could be anything.
Right.
So I stopped. And one of the things that I have noticed though over time is that it seems like people who drink diet soft drinks all the time, diet whatever, they'll order diet whatever. These are the ones who are actually bigger. It's like, what's the point? You're going to order a diet soft drink and then a double Mac burger, whatever.
Yeah. So I can,
it doesn't make sense.
I'll drink this so I can eat that,
Stupid.
So you mentioned there's great info on Netflix. It's called, I think, Gut Health or something.
Yes.
It's pretty graphic but it's interesting about what we've done. Taking so many antibiotics, we've kind of, our gut has gotten wompy, but you said you're taking a line.
A line, yes. I had heard some really good things about it. So I said, well, let me just, buy a bottle and see. And I'm telling you, within 3 days, I could tell such a difference.
Yeah.
First of all, not to be graphic, but first of all, my stomach went flatter, So
Yay!
I knew then there was like, there was some swelling there I wasn't even aware of.
Right.
Plus, I felt better.
Yeah.
I could just tell that there was a difference. And I wasn't necessarily looking for it.
Right.
But I could definitely tell the difference. And I've actually backed up to every other day instead of every day.
Yeah. That is so interesting. David calls it the trifecta gut health relation. And he says, you want three things. Now, the third one's going to be a little controversial. We already talked about that.
Well, yeah, you just go right ahead, David.
When I saw that on that Netflix documentary, I went, oh, Lord. I don't know if Southern mamas be like what Mama would say, oh, yeah, do that. So you got probiotics. And David said, think of that as the live bugs we want.
Yeah.
And the prebiotics would be their favorite snacks. And then is the biggie is the postbiotic. And he said that's the good stuff they leave behind.
Yeah.
So it's very important to have a combination. The last one, that's pretty, and I'll just read this so it won't what David said. Let me also add to that, he gave a great big shout out to fermented favorites like sauerkraut and yogurt, but they have to
love that.
But they have to have live, what did he say? Live culture. You have to look for that.
It's got to be a live culture.
A live culture. He said that's super important. But yes, the postbiotics, here we go, are fecal transplants. And it's a real thing.
Yes, it is.
I asked him, he does take that. It is very clean, as clean can be, but it's other people's excrement. Can we say it like that? And he's taking it for a month. So I'm going to call him next week to say, hey, buddy, how'd that postbiotic do for you? So, but that's very controversial. I don't know if it popped up on my news feed.
It's probably not going to be something I do. Yeah. it's just, I'm just going to be real honest. I'm doing real well right now. Thank you. And that's the thing. Like, I love those like yogurt, and I love sauerkraut, and that's always been a natural part of my diet. I don't know if I ever shared this with you, but about maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I was at a Christmas party and I had some pomegranate juice, and I went to sit down. I was wearing this new outfit and went to sit down, and the chair was lower than I thought it was. And as I was going down, I also realized it swiveled. And I did not want to spill the pomegranate juice on my new outfit. So I kind of did this awkward aerobic move. Yeah. And in the process, I pulled my major adductor muscle. And so I tried to do things at home, like heat, ice, all that, rest, etc. Stretching, nothing was working. So finally broke down and said, well, I got to go to the doctor. So I go to the doctor. And I had a hysterectomy when I was 28 years old. I do not take HRTs. I do not like them. I will not take them. And so, there's always been that concern about my bone density and my bone health, although every test I've ever had said it was fine. But I went into this to see an orthopedic doctor, and they did 10 x-rays, and I went into the room and I heard the doctor outside in the hall say, and I think I was probably 63, 4, 5, somewhere in there at that time. Let's say I was 65. He said, these are the bones of a 65-year-old woman. And I thought, oh no, right? Yeah. So he came in and he asked me what happened, and I told him, and I said, I think I pulled my major adductor. And he said, well, gold star for self-diagnosis. He said, you did, but you also threw your hip out of alignment, which is why you're not healing. But this is why your adductor won't heal. So he had to pop my hip back into alignment. That was a lot of fun. You could probably hear me 3 counties over when that just hurts to hear. Yeah, it was kind of painful. But then he said to me, now, I see here that you had a hysterectomy when you were 28. And I said, yes, 27, 28. And he said, what kind of HRT are you on? I said, I don't do HRTs. And well, what do you take for this? What do you take? And I said, I don't. I eat right. And I love whole milk. I love yogurt. I love cottage cheese. Yeah. That kind of thing. I love cheese. And he said, just looking at your x-rays, I would have thought you were in your early 40s.
Oh my goodness. That's music to your ears.
Absolutely. Because I thought he was going to come in and say, sister, we got to talk, but no. Wow. And he said, whatever you're doing, keep doing it.
Wow. That's so good to hear, because And if we can just add an addendum to this, we talked about just doing one more segment, we're almost there, but I do want to address heart health because that is the number one killer.
Oh
You know,
yeah,
number
yeah,
two killer
yeah.
is
Let's
cancer.
do it. Let's talk about
Yeah,
that in the next segment.
yeah,
Yeah, because I definitely have a lot to say about the heart.
yeah. I do want to do that. And so, but this has been interesting to talk about the gut health. And we need to pay attention to that because that affects everything. Man, if that part of you is, and I think it also creates headaches. There've
Yeah.
been some research connecting the gut health issue to just having pain and headaches and all kinds of things
Mhm,
that we
mhm.
had no idea it was connected. But
No, and that is one thing that does run in my family was, like my brother died with stomach cancer. But honestly, he did not eat right. And our father and his side of the family, our father's side of the family dealt with gastrointestinal issues always. And I don't.
yeah.
And I think there's a reason for that. Yeah.
Well, I'll say this with the hormone replacement therapy, I did start it and she gave me a progesterone pill. This is interesting. And I could
Mhm.
not take it. It did help me sleep at night, but I realized it was creating something was wrong. And you have to go back and say, what have I done differently? So I ended up going to a gastro guy and he said, have you taken any medications? I told him about the probiotic, not probiotic, the progesterone. And he said, oh, the progesterone, well, that slows your digestive tract.
Mhm.
And we went and to the next level and did a sonogram, and everything was fine, thank goodness, of that area. But he told me that we had Helene rip through here, the 500-mile wide demon, it messed up so much around here.
Yes.
He
Yes.
told me that so many people had come in to have appointments with him because the stress and their eating habits changed because we had no power. So you
Right,
had
of course. Yeah.
processed food that you
Yeah.
just junk on your shelf. He
Right.
said
You're
you
popping
wouldn't believe
M&Ms
the
and calling
people.
it a meal. Yeah.
Yeah, you wouldn't believe what happens to your gut when you're stressed out and eat too much junk.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
We will continue this with heart because that is
Let's talk about the
important.
heart.
Okay, sugar, and we will be back. Okie dokie. Signing off.